This is a LCD TV review. I have about 5 LCD TVs to go through here. I'm going to start with one that I think really is probably overall the best, and it's the Sony Bravia XBR 37 1080p. First of all, none of these TVs are perfect, but this TV, the flaws on it are tolerable, and the good things about the TV outshine the rest of them, in my opinion. The top brands that I had a chance to review here. Let's see, I can start with the sound's really good. A lot of people complain about the sounds on these TVs, the 32-inch up to even some of the 42-inch. I've heard some people complain about sounds on, but usually the bigger the TV, they put better speakers on. And the smaller ones all pretty much are so-so and are really bad with cracks and pops, and you turn them up real loud and they just sound, just really bad quality. So I definitely give Sony thumbs up on their sound. As far as the options, there's lots of options. Very good option menu on the Sony Bravia. Actually, there's so many options in their option menu. You kind of forget about a couple of them sometimes. The menu's kind of set up like PS3 or PSP, where you scroll through stuff. It's pretty nice. It's really nice the way it's set up. Ease of use. The Sony is pretty easy. Like I said, the menu system set up pretty good. It's a good score there. The details in the blacks, which is important. When you're just getting into these TVs, you don't realize how important it is unless you've maybe seen a comparison, or you're playing a game where there's a lot of dark areas, like in games. But even a game like Grand Theft Auto 4, where your character's standing in the middle of the street and it's daytime, your character will appear to be a little bit shadowed, or inside the apartment even, with your character in GTA 4. There's a lot of detail that you can't see, or the blacks just have a burned look to them. They don't look natural. On the Sony, the blacks, you can see detail in the blacks, which is really nice, without the whole screen looking all washed out, or turning the brightness up too much. So it's pretty good. Also, the blacks are more towards true black than seeing bluish tint in the black areas on the screen or something like that. So it does a decent job on that. It's not 100% on that in that area, but it's still really good. I haven't seen any that does it better in the way that Sony does. As far as first-person shooter games and stuff like that on Sony, you do get motion blur when you scroll left to right. It's not horrendous, but it is there. Things that, now, if you're moving very, very slowly left and right, or you have a side scroller that scrolls slow, there's not really any more motion blur, but you start getting something just a little bit quicker, and motion blur is definitely apparent. The lag in the games is pretty much non-existent in game mode on the Sony. It's very decent. The response time when you move left to right seems instant, which you need for playing online games and stuff. The timing is very important. A lot of a few of the TVs scored pretty bad on that. But Sony Bravia XBR 37 is pretty decent. I'm pretty satisfied with that. The contrast on the TV is supposed to be like, I think 25,000 to 1 or something, which all TVs have their own idea of this or something, so it's not based on any set standard. So, good luck. You might see one that says 25,000 and another one says 10,000, and the 10,000 one looks brighter, the colors are brighter, this and that. But the Sony's pretty decent. I'd be happier if it was just a tad bit on the brighter side as far as the contrast in the vivid mode, but it's definitely decent enough. The colors look great on the Sony. They're not cartoony looking. They're very realistic looking. Sony has their own little engine for this. It does its job very good, in my opinion. The colors turned out, they turn out looking very nice in the games and the TV. You don't have to do much adjusting at all. The flesh tones on the people look fairly realistic. A lot of the TVs, you really have to fight with it to get it to look that good. This TV also has a 24p true cinema. It's almost like the 120 hertz effect on some of the TVs to make certain things look like they're moving quicker. It's mainly, especially in, I believe I've seen some Blu-rays playing on the Sony, and they definitely look like the animation on Pixar movies and that look smoother. It's noticeable. Looks more towards 60 frames than 24 or something. It's kind of weird. Even in some of the games, I don't recommend having it on the games. There's a couple other settings you might have to turn off and then turn that one on or something like that to get it to work right with the games. But I don't know. I don't kind of recommend it. It gives a different effect, but in some ways, in some games it might be a little better, but definitely not for most games. Let's see, the TV antenna, which is very important. I noticed the 32-inch Sony, the TV antenna was kind of bad on it. It wasn't picking up. This is just, straight up HD signal, local channels or whatnot, which look great in HD, but they were coming in kind of fuzzy on the 32-inch Sony Bravia. But the 37-inch had a great tuner on it. A lot of the stations look really clear. I don't know, maybe the smaller TV was kind of defective, I don't know. They're not overly done. They're not excessively bright. They're just right. They're realistic in the areas that are white in TV programs or commercials. Sometimes you get too wide of a bright around colors, and it kind of overwhelms the color and drowns it out a little bit on the edges, and the Sony does a good job of not doing that.